to today's agenda. It's on page 1 and 2.
The contract review is different, right?
Yeah. Agendas approved as distributed. Item C is the minutes from last month's meeting, pages 3 and 4. Corrections or additions.
It's been confusing because it's been confusing, so I don't see any change.
Okay. It was.
That looked good to me. That was
Okay. We'll send that to the board consent agenda. Item B is public comment. There's just 2 other board members on here and Debbie, so if anybody else from the public today. Okay, so we'll move into the monthly financial statements, and we're doing 2 months today, so we'll start with January 2024. So Amy, I guess I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So I was kind of hoping, unless anybody has any questions about January, I was kind of hoping to jump over towards February because of comparing the 2 months.
Okay.
What page are you on?
January, it starts on page 5, but if everybody's okay with skipping over to page 16.
16.
So now we're on page 18. And does anybody have any questions regarding this page before I start?
one thing, we noticed was both in January and in February, our total outpatient visits have gone up considerably from where they used to be. So we're beginning to kind of catch up there, which is really nice to see.
In January, it was 914, and then it moved up to 958. Our clinic visits have gone from January at 1,184 up to 1,266. There was a slight decrease in pharmacy scripts from January to February from 3,201 to 3,110.
Which was interesting. This was a short month. So
Yeah.
So they really came back big time.
Do you have anything that you would like to bring up on the stats?
No, I think you covered pretty much it. We, again, obviously we had brought up before, we know about the length of stay issue for acute. Obviously we're trying to get back to 4.0, which is where we need to be. We were up a little bit, I think it was in December and January. And I was reviewing the statistics with Brenda. And so it appears like obviously that we did come down a little bit in February. And so obviously we had a 4.1 average length of stay on acute, which brought us down year to date to 4.27. So we've got a few more months, hopefully, if we can keep that under control. And so probably we'll get back down. So
Now, is
We're
that
continuing to
a
work.
financial penalty for
No.
us?
no, it's primarily if you don't hit it, then there may or may not be a report you have to give in terms of what actions you're taking to try and get it back into play. So, and then you've got a year, 1 more year beyond that, where they would monitor you. And then after that point in time, then you could be eligible for potential.
But we get penalized if we turn loose too soon.
Yeah, yes,
And then
exactly
we
that
come
too.
back.
Right,
So
right. So yeah, it's a fine line. You've got to walk with that.
now, I keep saying when you're acute and then outpatient and then clinic.
Yeah.
What is outpatient?
Outpatient would be Stewart. Laboratory.
Then one.
Ancillaries, right.
Wants an X-ray or
Yes.
blood work or
Yeah,
something.
some of our business in outpatient is actually coming from the clinic and so forth.
Okay,
They order tests.
okay, but the outpatient would be mostly
On that total outpatient line would be the ancillaries. Right. Physical
anything
therapy is
that's
another one.
not action.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right. That's too simple. It's not.
Do we have any other questions on page 18?
Are we gonna be able to make more money now that you're gonna be working with us better?
Well, that would be great. So,
He's
so,
on top of it.
so just to point out, this is the first time going through these reports and having to take Dave's data and making sense of it and then putting it into the spreadsheet has been a learning experience. So I've decided that this month I used Dave's spreadsheets. I took the data that I knew I could pull over. I got rid of a few pages, as you'll see when you go through, there's some graphs missing. And then next month, I'm gonna go back to a 2021 copy and rebuild it from there.
Well, if you make a mistake, I'll holler at you.
And I expect you to, so.
You're
Okay,
doing a great job, Amy.
You are.
thank you. So page 19 is kind of a summary of what we're gonna be looking at on page 20 for assets. I wanted to jump down to line 8 for other receivables, which is gonna be the payments that we made in February for our IGTs. In February, it totaled over 4.5 million that we put out for IGTs. And we did put another roughly million out in March with an anticipated net return of over 9 million. We did start getting we got our first payment back. We got our first payment in March for 1.164 million from the IGT with another 420,000 last week. So it's starting to come back. It doesn't have a set schedule, so we'll start seeing it more in April and May. We'll see prepaid expenses on line 10 was increased by over 30. That is because we had Relias training, which is an annual. On line 15 for our auxiliary cash, they were short by 71,000. They paid for the Spectrum infusion pumps, which you'll also see because now it has to be depreciated. On page 8, there's going to be a slight change to that number as well. On line 18, our UPS funds, because of the IGT payments, you're going to see it reduced by the 4.2 million. Construction in progress, line 26 is increased from the Ferguson boilers for that project.
I would assume some of that's probably also the, what they're doing, the work out back, the generator as well. Some of that come through yet.
That will hit more in January.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions on page 20?
I don't.
No,
Oh,
it's good to go through it because we usually don't spend too much time on the balance sheet. So thank you for doing that.
so on page 21 on accounts payable, and there was an increase in January, which was JTS for $391,000. Quinn, we have for the generator, 322,000 plus the Ferguson. That Ferguson hit in February, so that's why you only see the 92,000 increase. And dropping down to the long-term debt. So I know this had been brought up in, I believe, January regarding December. This number, it changes every 6 months based on the current portion that is due. We had a payment due in February, and that's where you're going to see the reduction of 434,000. Do you guys have any questions? I was expecting a lot more, like talking. So this is on the next page 22.
Should be happy.
Okay.
You set it up to where the numbers are doing the talking.
Right. So it should be.
So in January, if we went back and looked at it, you'll see that patient revenue was decreased. And I met with Deb yesterday to discuss some of the factors that brought down the revenue. And in January and February, we said that deductibles are due. So normally it's pretty low and starts back up in March. There was a change, a cyber attack. So electronic claims are now have to be hard copy. So there's a delay in payment. Blue Cross for the skilled nursing contract wasn't completed until mid-February. So go and start seeing from that. The contract.
We're on page 22 now, right?
22, yeah.
22. And this is gonna lines 7 and 8. This is what I hadn't had built in January, which was the contractuals, which is normally something that Dave would do. So I had a meeting with Whitfully, one of the companies that have been helping us to discuss how to rebuild the contractuals, because the spreadsheets in the past, there's a little too much data in there, a little hard to work with. So this month, you'll see that in February, it's doubled. In January, there was nothing in there. So that's gonna skew the numbers a little bit. On line 14, we have for salaries and wages. The year-to-date total is from the employee bonus. Fringe benefits is from the PTO and retirement.
These are for the month.
I was trying to look for any slight variances too. We have utilities. It's over by 12,000, which is for our Mount Mesa water, which is every other month. And our propane bills are great every month. They're roughly 20,000.
Oh, wow.
So this time of the year, great. And then when that goes down,
Compared to what we're paying at home, it's cheap. You know what?
Oh, yeah, right.
but don't worry, when you see the propane go away, that's when the electric goes up. So we have on line 26, we have the slight increase from the infusion pump depreciation. Do we have any questions on page 22?
I see your fingers crossed.
I know. No, but the questions are good, so.
So, I mean, the net loss for the month is substantial, if I'm reading it correctly, or is this just because of the cyber attack issues?
The net revenue, it's the negative 5 million.
Yeah,
That is because of having 2 contractuals in the month.
Right.
So in March, we'll end up seeing everything should be balanced out. It's 1 month had none, the next month has 2 just to even it.
Go back and take a look at page 11. You can see there was the deduction of
Yeah.
revenue was minus 2%
yeah.
instead of 70-something percent. So you ended up with a $10 million net revenue versus 2.8 we normally run. So this month corrected it. That's why we said, fine, we'll go through and process those. And then we'll focus on the year-to-date numbers because that everything starts to balance back out with that. So, but yeah, it makes the 2 months look skewed.
Next month, I'm hoping to have like a key points page. That way you guys will know, hey, the contractuals messed it up, not just that it's a negative 5 million.
Because I was kind of having a heart attack when I.
You were.
You had to pick him up off the-
Explanation. It does, yeah. It's just like if we're losing that much money, then we've got a huge problem. Just like on nitro.
Exactly.
In 1 month.
Not that I'm criticizing you or anything. I'm just.
Focus on the year-to-date on the next page. I think that'll you really start seeing where.
The year to date,
Okay.
yeah, kind of puts things more in perspective.
Go on the page 23. You can see that the numbers are starting to even out in the year-to-date columns. Unless there's any questions from line 1 to 13. I'm just gonna jump back into the operating expenses. Do you have any points that you'd like to bring up?
No, I'm just gonna wait for you to go and I'll see what you did. So,
Okay.
we've been through it so many times, so you got it. I know you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
The inpatient revenue, we're down 1 million on number one. And with inflation, that we should be charging more, so we're really down more. It depends on how you look at it. Does that make sense?
It does, but January and February were pretty slow months. So in March, we're already starting to see it pick back up.
Okay, so we're only dealing with the 1 month.
This is on the this is the year-to-date total, but those months had a big impact.
Okay. It's gonna get better.
It is gonna get better. We're already starting to see it this month. So salary and wages, are back down to that. The differences from the bonus. Professional fees, effectively under by 122,000. Insurance expenses. Every year we're seeing Alliant increase their expenses for our property insurance. And between 2022 and 2023, it increased by over $70,000.
It's like my home insurance.
What's that on there? Radiology overpaid labor.
There's a note that says Stewart too.
I don't see that
Stuart
line.
to explain.
What line is that?
No, that's omitted. I guess.
And then
14A.
on 25, just everything is starting to increase. We've had even Mount Mesa Winds Apartments increase their rent. Unless there's any questions, or you have anything
Yeah.
you'd like to?
One of the things I think, again, we talked about the salaries obviously being over. A big part of that obviously was the almost 800,000 we give out in the bonuses here today. But we also back in January, well, you noticed also the contract labor, which is on line 16, is down $123,000. Obviously, we've made a big effort to try and bring on staff instead of using the more high cost registry and so forth. And so that's obviously helping out. But the other thing that hit us during the same time period is that we had when we went back, we had effective January, we had a new minimum wage adjustment to $16 an hour. And so that kicked in for a lot of the employees as well. And we had paired that up at the same time with the parity adjustments that we normally do in December. We just held those and we did it all at one time. So we took the single hit.
But they have to work 16% harder, don't they? So it should bring that.
14%.
Oh, 14.
And so anyway, so those all attributed to the year-to-date numbers and so forth. And obviously, as we know, come June, we're going to be looking at another adjustment for the minimum wage, which goes into effect June the 1st. And so, and that will be
That's a
adjusted.
good thing, right?
Depends on who you talk to. Yeah.
Well, from when you're talking to me, it's a good thing.
Yeah. I picked that up. But obviously it costs us more. But, you know, and that's going to be a 3.5% increase each year minimum. And so we're going to wait and see how that'll impact you. So we're already working on the models now. HR is pulling me the lists and so forth, so we can start figuring out how we can make those adjustments. And because I'd committed to the board that I would bring that back to them to take a look at before we finalize anything on that. So
Over how many years?
10 years. So we hit $25 per hour. There's a whole lot of questions that go on from there, obviously, because we had a 4 to 4.5% annual increase that we normally would give out per year. And so now 3.5% is obviously coming through with this minimum wage adjustment and so forth. So, you know, we're now figuring out, Mark and I worked on this, some parity adjustments and those kinds of things, and wage range issues we've got to deal with. So,
They're still gonna get to 4% increase every year.
yeah, that's our plan. That's what we budgeted
So
for.
everything, that'll be an addition.
Yep. Yep.
And the parity, so somebody that was already making more, they'll.
In
it'll be
addition,
They'll get the bump. That's correct.
By in addition, do you mean 7.5%?
No,
No,
no.
the total would be 4%.
4.5, yeah, correct, whatever that budget was, yeah. So. Because I think what Chet used to do is he'd go 4% budget, but because the mid-year, the parity adjustment came mid-year, in the
Right.
fiscal year, it was actually a net effect of 4.5%, so. So,
Any other questions on the year to date?
No, but since you just mentioned budget, I do have a question. So last year when we did the charge master increase, normally years before we've increased it by 7%. Last year, Dave only did 2%. Who makes that decision?
it was him and I.
Okay.
Well, the issue was because we've been doing 7% every year for as long as I've been here, and it's probably as long as Chet was here. And the issue is so little of that falls to the bottom line anymore because so much of our reimbursement is fixed cost either through contracts or through Medi-Cal or whatever. So very little of that actually comes through. But, you know, when we keep getting these complaints from the community about, God, it costs a fortune to go there. But they don't understand that that's charges. That's not what you're actually going to pay. And so our thought process was, hey, let's let that get out. It's like I said, fine, we minimize that impact this year. And we're going to try and slow that increase down. And so that was the first year that we actually tried to do that. Just to, again, because it really,
Do we know if it's going to stay at 2%?
when we get to the budget, we'll take a look at that, see how that works out.
The issue is that, yeah, we're increasing our charges but it does affect the patient to some degree, especially when that patient has an out-of-pocket deductible and a co-insurance.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
and I have to do the increase on the charge master. So I was just trying to.
Well, typically those,
Trying to get a hip on it.
typically those things would still come through because once they hit their cap, they stop paying that. So, so
But those that
It's gonna hit
cash
back.
payers pay the.
But a lot of
with a
it,
higher rate, you're gonna.
1,000 out of pocket.
Those that are
Yeah.
cash
Yeah.
payers
And so,
get a
you
pretty,
know, if it's
we're
only
only charging them the Medicare.
3,000 true cost, then they're better off with it.
Yeah.
Because they don't hit that 10,000 till way down the road.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Inflation's 3%, so you gotta, I
Yeah.
mean,
Correct. It's gotta be at least that.
Yeah.
I thought we did 4%. I didn't think it was 2%.
yeah, well,
I'm pretty sure it was 2% because I've got to enter that percentage.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I was
CPSI
asking for 4,
bump it.
so I thought that was what he did.
You probably did, and then he forgot.
That's
said 2.
possible. That's very possible. Okay.
at the bottom of the IGT. Let's see. That's where you referred to earlier that came, okay, the very, very bottom line row. Can you explain that?
And the 4 million,
Yeah. What is that? Where is it? Coming or going or?
okay, that was put out in February. And then we're gonna start seeing the return.
Okay, that's.
So for this fiscal year, we've-
Payment to them.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is what we've gotten back.
And then the 8 point is what has come back.
No, the 8 million is what we got last year for this same period of time. So right now, we should have collected 4.5 million. And like I said, as Amy said, when the schedules come in, we're getting to that point of the year where they all start funneling in and so forth. This year was a little more focused all at one time of the year. Before we get some in November, we get some in December, and it's January, and then we get a little bit more in March usually. So, but this year, most of it came later, you know, in the year. So,
Since our IGT has been increased pretty substantially, is our payment increased also?
which payment?
The payment to,
Oh, well, yeah, our portion of that, yes. Because what it is, they tell you, here's how much you're eligible for. We make that payment, we get 100% return on that. And so if you can't come up with that payment, then you get less of that. And that makes more available for another hospital. So we've always tried to maximize that, obviously, to get as much cash as we can out of that. So.
but Amy's got deep pockets, right?
She's got some good reserves, so.
So I don't know what you're talking about.
It's there, and then it's gonna be coming back, so.
Yes, exactly.
On page 24 to 25, it is the 13-month trend. Does anybody have any questions? It's
Usually we don't go through. this,
Okay.
but It's there for those who like to look at the trending of the data. see
okay.
which I do.
And then on 26, statement of cash flows. This is where it scares you with with the contractuals. So the numbers on this page have been changed significantly because of the contractuals, and in March,
They'll reverse that.
they will
No,
reverse.
stock. Can you imagine if Cal Mortgage was still here and they saw this?
Yeah.
I'm being facetious, but serious too.
Now on page 27, we have the AP local vendors. Do we have any questions?
I had one question on the Mount Mesa Shell. I suspect that a lot of that is the transportation driver's cost.
Yes.
So is this for a month? Is this a couple of weeks? How often do we pay that?
We pay this every time that we do a check run. Every time we do a check run, we make sure nothing's over 30 days.
There was a check that went out to them just yesterday too.
Okay, all right. Well, I just wanted to know if that's what we can expect for a month or for 2 weeks, or how does
In
that?
addition to the transport drivers, that's also any of the other company vehicles. That's typically where they
Right.
fuel up.
Right.
Okay, I just
For all of them.
Just curious, I'm
Yeah.
trying to come up with numbers for when I go to bill for that service.
I track all of the transport fuels separately before I send the
Okay.
receipts up to them. So if you want to see it for a
All
month.
right, that'd be good. Yeah.
But this number is year-to-date fiscal year, is that what that total cost is?
Isn't it just right?
It's just what's paid out over what outstanding bills we have that are there. So these
So
are
if she's
paid.
got a check run that goes out every 2 weeks,
Right.
she's paying that amount every 2 weeks. Let's see. Makes sense.
You can see our lovely propane for 23,000 for 1 month.
Crazy. And we couldn't park here for 4 hours.
Okay, so jumping into the contracts on page 28.
Yikes.
Anybody have any questions on that? So as you know, we're still a work in progress, migrating from one to the next repository. So this might not be perfect, but I think it's pretty close to for this month it needs to be.
Yeah, I've got
Let me
two,
know if you see anything.
yeah, two contracts for Dr. Buxton there that I'm going to be
Yes.
modifying.
On this bottom one, that
Hopefully,
Whiffley and the annual audit shows 31,000 or something like that. And 3 meetings ago, when Dave was still here, the board agreed and was on him to have a completely, totally new audit. It's been the same for so many years, and
oh, you mean the cost report? Get a new company to do the cost report or the audit?
audit.
Yeah, the audit's Rick Jackson. That's not Whitley. So,
Okay,
so Rick does the audit. Whitley does the cost reports. for us.
okay, so we're checking, but when's the audit due?
Now,
Okay, you were at the meeting where we said we would get it totally independent, not Rick.
we're correct. Going forward, that's,
They were going to entertain other proposals to see what was like.
We knew it was gonna cost more. We were going to
Yeah.
get one.
right. Yeah, Dave didn't
Have we
get
got
this.
it yet?
No, we're already in the audit process when we started this. So this is going to happen this next year as we go through. So
No, we're gonna get an audit this year,
yes, yes.
not from Rick.
No, it'll be from Rick. That's what this is. This, the,
Rick is not independent. How many years has Rick done it?
he's an independent company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't use the same one.
That's been the history of
This
this.
is 31, yeah.
Yeah,
and
I
we-
agree with you. I don't disagree with you. I fully agree that we
Yeah,
need to take a look
Okay,
at somebody.
where I'm at, I'm on the finance committee.
Yeah.
I don't have a right to trust anybody.
Yeah.
It's not my money, it's the community's money.
Right.
And we need to be prudent once in a while. For 3 or 4 years, and they kept saying, well, it's gonna be 20,000 more. Well, so what? We want it to be right.
Agreed. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay, can you stop, Rick? How far is he?
He's done.
I think what was said, Gene, was that it was that they were gonna entertain that for the next year's.
Oh, no, that's bullshit.
The audit that Tim's talking about right now is for the fiscal year
23, right?
23.
Right.
For the fiscal year 24, we were going to look at other proposals.
No, that's not what we talked about at that board meeting. We said, he said he was gonna schedule Rick, and I said, no way it's gonna be independent this year. He said, I'll get some other people. Since then, you've had him out of sight.
I haven't had him out of sight. They didn't make that change, okay? He didn't go out and get somebody else. In the meantime, we had to get it done because obviously we've got timeframes we have to.
Why didn't you come to us and say, hey, you heard me? And I looked on the,
My thought was that it was for this 2024. So,
he was talking about 2024
yes,
when he said,
yes. So,
Rick was already working on the 23 audit.
when did he start working on it?
The fiscal year for 23 ends in
June,
June of 23.
right?
And
Quite a
so
while.
we're already 9 months out from there. They start working on it. Is it September, October?
Thereabouts,
Yes.
yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Okay, so 24, he'll start on it when?
Probably,
Probably in about 6 months.
probably before that. That may be before that. But we'll bring proposals here for you all to look at. Then you guys can select who you want to go with.
But we have to anyway, because it's
Correct.
prevailing wage. You have to do a whole bidding process and
Correct.
that takes time.
Yeah.
How,
And it will take more time, as you said, that we know it's going to be higher because again, anybody new you bring in doesn't have the history that he's had. And so therefore, they've got to go back and they've got to look through.
We
all
gotta
of this.
look at stuff. It's
They do.
fresh eyes.
Yeah,
and-
no
and
question.
We get a better picture.
Yeah.
And so,
And most places I've been, they would change them up every 3 or 4 years, and for that reason, just to get another set of eyes to look at it, make sure they were comfortable. So I have no problem doing that.
what would an independent, just somebody to look at the books and see how they look?
No idea. I don't even know if they would, I mean, they're gonna want to go through everything. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we'll certainly reach out to the company and find out.
So much changes, so much going on,
No question.
and
How does that bidding process work?
You just put it out for a bid like an RFP just for,
well, that,
current health
Sounds like
system.
an
Current health system just did one about a year or so ago. And so,
So they base their proposal on your size and
Yes.
okay.
exactly.
it's good. Last time we looked, it was about 50 grand and it's put
About right.
31. But did an extremely accurate look at it as opposed to what we get.
Yeah.
Somebody is familiar with this.
yeah. Whipley does the audit for the cost report. That's
Right.
which we have to have that for reimbursement,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And we were using somebody else before, Whipley.
Yeah.
They've not been doing it forever.
Yeah, we've had a few of those. We've had Paul, who did it for a lot of years. We had HFS, I think, for a little while.
Yes, right.
Whipley.
So the
So we have
report-
moved that one around. So
The report that he did, we get a copy of that?
we'll get it to you. Yes. We just got the certificate, just certified it before we came into the meeting. Amy's got to review that and sign off on that, and then she'll submit that in, and then we'll get that. Right.
Rick will be on that call as well.
But we'll get you a copy in advance so you can start taking a look at that.
Did you say you wanted to pull Dr. Benson's contract?
Yeah, Buxton's I'm gonna pull because I'm gonna go ahead and make some revisions to his contract is expiring.
There was one on here about team. I'm not seeing it now because I don't have glasses, so I can't see.
That's Teams not on here.
Yeah, okay. It's a special, different program.
Oh, you're talking about this Teams? Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
than
the
Zoom.
team that
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
on right now.
Microsoft, yeah.
When did we get that?
So we switched to what's called Office 365 about 3 years ago,
Oh,
somewhere
so-
thereabouts.
oh,
So it's
that's right.
bundled inside of that. And so the difference, I mean, it does the same thing as Zoom, but it's something that we're already paying for as part of that bundle. So the thought was to, and outside of board meetings, everybody's moved to Teams, about 2 years ago when we did it. So we kept board meetings because there were some features missing inside of Teams that wouldn't allow us to do what we need to do to organize the board meetings, but those are now for the most part in Teams. So that's why we made that change.
At that time, the physicians were also using Teams and we've migrated them off now. So they're now using Teams. So, right,
That Marie's doing all of her.
Yes.
Yeah, so those,
right, they're all by Teams.
so it ought to be a slight cost savings to us once we get rid of Zoom, because we won't be double paying for a similar product. Not that Zoom was very expensive.
But do people, the public able to access that?
Exactly the same.
Just like.
Just a link, it'll open up. No difference for the public.
Oh. Thanks.
Anything else on contracts?
Any MT Solutions, we actually contracted with them during the Erskine fire when we had to evacuate the residents. But I don't think we've used them at all.
No, it's been 2016.
We signed an emergency contract with them to help get the residents transported to Bakersfield and to Ridgecrest.
Right.
But we've not used it since then, so I'm not sure that we need to.
We can probably terminate that one.
Another is the Bayer Healthcare, the third item there.
Yeah.
That's been updated now to a new contract, selling flex contract. I believe I didn't email that to you there, but it'll probably be on review later this year then, like in the year.
So we're gonna change that contract at that point?
Yeah,
It'll be
so
a new
it'll
contract
be
with
a
Bayer?
new contract already
With Bayer.
in effect with Bayer, for that. So it'll probably.
So this
start to
is good.
renew at the
This
end
is
of
good
the
through
year.
June, so. So maybe if we can look at that before this one expires, then we can roll into the new.
It's already been converted everything to the new contract. So this is just the old contract and then the new one will just kind of replace it.
Okay.
Like I said, it's still a work in
Yeah, we're-
progress. Get there. Hoping by next month it's gonna be.
So with those changes, are you okay with seeing it?
Yeah, yeah.
Consent, okay, thanks, check. Okay, thank you, Amy, for going through all that. Any other questions for Amy before we move to Stuart?
Great. Clear as mud.
All right, Stuart, welcome. Go ahead and take
Yeah,
it
thank
away.
you for having me here. So basically I'm here just kind of trying to push for a little upgrade through our service contract renewal on our GE equipment. They kind of service all of our equipment as a whole. So it kind of continuing with them is a good option alternative for us. They do a lot of, they kind of support us a lot in areas and such. So moving forward with renewing the contract for service on our CT, our X-ray room and our portable X-ray machine. It's basically, like I said, just a service contract renewal. But what I'm kind of asking for on the inside of that service contract is refreshes to our CT machine and our portable X-ray machine. Both of these units are approaching like 13, 14 years old. They can both be refreshed. Let's start with the portable X-ray unit, I guess, first. So the portable X-ray unit can be refreshed basically into a brand new floor model unit, which will probably extend service lifetime by 10 plus years, according to GE. That upgrade does cost, I think it's $25,000 annually, and then that'll be billed quarterly at $6,241, and that'll be the Navigate X-ray portable. the upgrades with the portable, I kind of feel like they'd be kind of good for our ER physicians, kind of our use case here. Kind of allows a little bit new technology, some AI technology built into these to kind of help with critical cases and such like that. It'd be a good improvement. The biggest push, the reason to get that machine upgraded at this time is the service life for it will be ending on the detectors, the part that actually receives the image. That part will be ending in June. And then with that coming up such a close time, we'll have to rework a new contract or possibly, contract that separately through them. And with doing the contract through the service, we can kind of get a discount on that unit and kind of get a good rebate and such. There's one pamphlet in there that I'd give you board members that kind of show some of those AI capabilities. The second page there, the one with the chest and X-ray there. And so these are kind of like tools that the ER physician can use, like on those critical cases and such, to be able to make those determinations without having to rely on the radiologist to kind of back them up, like in such a kind of critical case.
What you were saying is that new portable is actually more potent than.
Yeah, so it's actually it's a pretty good. It's their latest machine. It's going to get all new equipment. It'd be a new batteries, new generator, new screen, new tube. Everything will be brand new. It's just the kind of shell, the housing will be kind of reused. And but other than
fresh take.
It should take within a week, so about 3 to 4 days. They should have it completely.
So it's really down during that time.
Yeah, so it'd be about 3 days where we wouldn't have a unit. We could always talk with them. Sometimes we can get loaner units at those times, but I feel like most of the care that we provide, we could utilize our X-ray room in those cases, but it's always that, planning for the unexpected is kind of the worst case, right?
Okay.
So, I can definitely reach out to them. That upgrade, of course, wouldn't be happening, for several months once we got this contract renewed, just to allow for that timing. And then we can definitely bring up about getting like a portable replacement for those days if we need it.
It sounds like it wouldn't be responsible on our part not to do it because we owe it to people who are patients.
I could agree
They
with
have a
that. Yeah.
reason. And it doesn't sound like it's that much more.
No, it does add, like I said, 25,000 for 3 years on top of the service contract. So we're currently, budgeted about 140. I think we're paying a little under that. And then so our next year would be 190. So
You said it's got AI built, some AI built in. So
some
you
AI
can,
built in, which kind of allows for instant detection on the image if there's like a critical finding or something. So I could point to the ER doctor immediately being like, hey,
so you can tell if the person that you're X-raying is a robot.
Yeah, we could. we see through people pretty
And
well.
we're doing it robotically.
Yeah. So that's kind of the sum up on the portable.
I've read it and I think we definitely, John, I'm sure you have.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you want to name the machine after Dr. Fraser.
That would be cool.
Oh, yeah, I call it Eleanor.
We could actually name it Eleanor.
That would be great.
So that's kind of touching base on the portable. The same kind of thing with the CT. It's going to be a refresh. It's not so much the equipment that takes or captures the image, but the computer-based part of the CT that needs to be refreshed. It is already end of life. It went end of life
So
December
it'll
last
actually be
year.
a newer refurbished
So
one.
yeah, it'd be an entire new computer system, right? Not a new tube or X-ray or anything like that, or the part where you
But
go into
programming
or whatever, but
or-
the computer part of it will be new. And that should again extend that service life for,
And you'll guarantee it's not going to go out again in the middle of the.
no.
Dr. Burrows.
So how would the physicians see the stuff generated by AI?
So the ones on the portable machine, while we're in the room doing the exam, they are usually typically there with us. So if we're doing like an ET tube placement where we put an endotracheal tube in and we need to shoot an image to see where it's placed in the right spot, the AI tools can measure it immediately and give them a reading right there on the screen.
While they have hands on.
While they're hands-on or while they're right there, they can make an adjustment at that time. We can take another image and then get another immediate measurement. And then typically that measurement has to be, we have to upload that image, send it off to PACS, get the radiologist to read it. And in those critical cases, those patients typically aren't registered. And so it takes time to get them registered, time to get the image to PACS, time to get it to the radiologist, and all that delay at that point,
So I can remember days when Mike Miller had to deliver it to Ewing's to have Dr. Fraser.
Exactly, or run it up to her house up the hill. Exactly.
In the headlines,
Mhm.
that's right. Come a long way.
So those kind of immediate things would be a big improvement, I think, for our
And the quality of the
staff.
image, I'm sure is much.
quality of the image is actually better too. The new detectors that are coming with that are better detail resolution and stuff. So everything that.
And the CT too, because I know we talked about that.
So the CT, what I kind of presented to you gentlemen there, the Smart Bar, what that is a metal artifact reduction to it would add that, the one you're reading there, John. That would add that ability to our machine, which we don't currently have.
That one there.
That would be that one here for you. And so when patients present with like a lot of metal artifacts in their body, prosthesis or other types of things, you can see it creates a lot of scatter or a lot of degradation to the image quality. And so what this does is it kind of on the back end, while it's capturing the images, can kind of reduce that image distortion. And so we can kind of make better diagnosis and stuff. And hopefully my kind of thought on that is to basically keep those patients here. If we have a problem that we can identify, and then we can treat it. If we have a problem where we can't identify the problem, we have to send them somewhere else to identify it. We're kind of missing out on that possible revenue. So that was kind of the case there. And again, that's about another 25,000 for 3 years to upgrade the CT. And so these are, like I said, adding these to the service contract, we do get a little rebate on those. I believe we get 4,000 rebate on the CT upgrade. So the total cost is 77,000 down to 73,000. And then our portable during, I think we get 1 year of flash pad cost reduction. So that's about 12,000 a year. And then we also get a 3-month rebate on the portable itself. So once it comes, we don't pay service for 3 months to keep the.
Have you run these tools by Cook or anybody?
So Dr. Cook, these are kind of independent. So they can kind of aid them in a sense, but we wouldn't be relying on them to kind of, supersede the radiologist, right? They would still be the standard. It would be more of like an immediate tool for the ER physician to make their determination and just tools to help them. And then we'll still follow up with the final reading from our radiology. Yeah. And so these upgrades are basically just going to improve the images we send to them.
Right.
So it's really should be no qualm on their behalf.
The way we pay them, is it per image or is it volume? The more traffic you get, the
So
more.
these contracts are just basically service contracts. They're yearly and then they're built.
But service, how much if you only x-ray once a year? There's not much service needed.
No, so it's cost is based off the machines and the
In
utilization.
fact, we don't
So
use
could use
most of.
Yeah, we could pay 1 image or 10,000 images and the service still costs the same. There is I think a tube service, kind of the first 3,000 patients, if anything happens on the tube, and it's free replacement. So there's a little bit of a rebate there, but
Basement of the patient or.
of the machine.
Oh.
So I think that sums it up, kind of generally there. If there's any more direct questions or anything, I might be able to help anybody, but.
Make me want to go to nursing home.
Well, we're here waiting.
I definitely think.
Yeah, I'm good with sending this to board consent. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for your
Oh,
time.
absolutely. No,
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll be present at that board meeting as well, so that help. You do a better job of questions, describe board member.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Drew. Okay, well, that wraps it up. We're adjourned at 1:49.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Fishing.
I thought I could rake her through the cold and she, well, everything.
Doesn't have anything.